The following program is intended for mature audiences.
TBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
They are incompetent, the absolute worst!
Actually ran into 2 Columbus Blue Jackets at Waffle House.
Actual Blue Jackets or fans?
No, actual Blue Jackets. They were in town to play the Lightning.
Oh, really?
And it was after the game, and I happened to be up late, and I was starving, so I figured I'll go down to Waffle House and grab something to eat, and 2 Blue Jackets players, like, with the team, like, jackets on and everything came in.
No kidding. You know which 2?
I could not identify them purely, but, like, I don't know, like, I knew they were with the team.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah, when I was when we moved to Florida and I drove down there, I think Waffle House is the only place I ate at the whole way down because I love it so much. And then when I had to come back while we were down there for like a weekend, and I know for a fact that I only ate at Waffle House when I traveled by myself up and back. I mean, I just love the place. Like it was like I would set up every hotel I got along the way would be near a Waffle House, and I just made it because I'm like I just love it so much. The hash browns and it's probably the worst thing in the world for you, but damn, it's good.
Twice to Waffle House.
That's it?
Yeah.
Do they have a lot in California?
No, see, that's the thing. I went to one when I visited the South at some point, and then I went to one in Arizona, and that's it.
Oh, okay. Because they're not. We've got some in Ohio, but man, once you get to like Tennessee on down, they're everywhere.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think we have any out here in California.
Yeah, our Florida place, there's one like 3 blocks away. I'm so excited. And a Wawa's, too. I don't know if you guys know what Wawa's are. It's a gas station.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a Wawa's close by and a Publix. I'm like, I'm in absolute heaven. This is perfect. And they're all within like a 3-minute drive. I can't wait.
None of those things that exist out here, but I know what they are. Yeah. I've been to them.
Publix is the best. What do you think, Mike?
I love Publix.
Publix is the best grocery store in the world. I don't care what anybody says.
I'd live at Publix if I could.
Yeah.
I thought Loblaws was great in Ontario, but no, Publix just is amazing.
Well, see, here we have Kroger, which is pretty close, but not quite. Kroger's good if you can't get to a Publix, but when my mom was sick when I was down there last February, I ate at Publix like every day. If I wasn't at Waffle House, I was at Publix. Is basically how it worked. And everything else, I went to Wawa's. Like when I ride my Harley, my girlfriend says, you don't go out to ride, you go out to go to gas stations, which is kind of true. I stop everywhere. I got this thing about them. I don't know. But anyway, so before we get started, I want to make a quick announcement, guys. This is for the boards mostly. So the rest of you that aren't on the board, sorry, I just got to take a minute of your time here real quick. I'm stopping the best and worst list, and I'll tell you, there's 2 reasons why. First off, I think at this point, everybody can watch the games and know which ones I'm going to pick. And secondly, I always said I'd do it until it felt like a chore. And frankly, not just lately, but this whole season, it's felt like work. And I don't want it to be that. So I will, if you want to discuss them on the show, that's fine. I'll do like a quick top 5 or whatever, but I'm not doing the threads anymore. And with that, where do we want to begin?
I actually want to start in baseball.
Yeah, me too. Actually, yeah. Sure.
The Los Angeles Dodgers.
Oh, my God. What do they do?
I don't know. They have to do something with Kershaw first and foremost because
that wasn't a good idea.
Despite him being one of the best pitchers of this generation, maybe the best pitcher of this generation, he's broken. Like you can't go back to him ever again.
Not the postseason, anyway. No. I mean, that man was destroyed after that game. You could just see it. It completely crushed him.
I mean, he said one of his post-game quotes was something to the effect of, everything that people think about me in the playoffs is true. And it's just like, how can you as a player even say that about yourself?
Yeah.
That's when you know the thing's completely done and gone.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally in his head now. And once that happens, I'm not saying that there's no way he'll ever be good in the playoffs, but he's already not what he used to be, even in the regular season. I mean, he's more of a He's more like Greg Maddux now than he used to be like Sandy Koufax. He'd just blow shit by you and put the ball wherever he wanted at whatever speed he wanted. He doesn't really do that anymore. Now he's more like location. So he'd already lost a little bit. And then I don't know why Roberts went to him in that spot. I really don't. Because hadn't the back end of that bullpen been doing a pretty good job throughout the playoffs? Yeah, well,
there's a couple things that, I mean, I obviously hadn't followed the Dodgers closely all year, but a couple of things that stood out from the talk afterwards was when they brought Kershaw in, it seemed like it was just going to be for the one batter at the end of the seventh.
Yeah.
Because they wanted the matchup and they got it, and he got the out, and that was it. And most people thought, okay, that's going to be it. But when you have a guy that's a starter normally, that goes out there, gets one batter, and then sits for another 20 minutes, he's not going to have the same juice when he comes back out there. So Roberts should have pulled him because of one of two reasons. Either you put Kenta Maeda out there, who they brought in afterwards and did a pretty good job and had been doing a great job during the season, and even in that series, or you bring in, they had a guy that most people had called a Soto killer. What was his name? Like Krikorik or something like that?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But they had a guy that had gotten the guy who got the second home run out every single time that they faced each other in that series so far. And so I think letting up the first home run is one thing, but to leave him in there for the second guy is like, what are you doing?
Well, Soto's a right-handed batter, isn't he? Was he? Yeah. I mean, you're leaving Clayton Kershaw in there against the best hitter on the Nationals. That was dumb. Especially a right-handed hitter that's just like eating everybody alive. I mean, come on.
He gave it the first one to Rendon and then Soto.
Yeah, two best hitters on their team.
Exactly. I think, God, it's just so strange because, like we've talked about with every other team in every other sport that's done this, the Dodgers were one of the two best teams in baseball this year and have been the last 4 or 5 years, right? It's one thing to lose dramatically in the World Series. It's another to lose dramatically by clear, managerial mistakes to a team that had never won a playoff series before.
Yeah, to the Nationals. I mean, who in the world would have thought the Nationals would beat the Dodgers? The Nationals
would tie the game in the 8th inning and win in the 10th on a grand slam.
Right, exactly.
By Howie freaking Kendrick.
Howie Kendrick, right. I know. I couldn't believe it. I'm surprised weren't they in the wild card game, the Nats?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, and they won that, which I thought was a miracle in itself.
And they won that game in the 8th inning. They've had a habit of winning these games in the 8th inning.
But I think they're going to be
even in the NLCS so far.
I think they're up to 2-0 on the Cards.
2-0.
Yeah. Team Justice, the Washington Nationals. Who would have thunk it, right? I don't know what you do with the Dodgers at this point because they're loaded. They're stacked top to bottom. I mean, I don't know what you do.
I think Roberts has to go.
I think so too. I think that was a bad move. You don't
because it's not even just the one move though. Because the other thing that stood out was Joe Kelly comes in as the reliever, and what even I, as not a Dodger fan, know. Joe Kelly is not good after one inning. He is not good for a multiple inning outing.
Most relievers aren't.
The Angels destroyed him, during the interleague season this year. And to bring him out and you walk the two guys that are really going to hurt you in Rendon and Soto, but he still gave up the grand slam to Kendrick.
Yeah.
And then you bring Kenley Jansen out of the bullpen. It's like this is it. This is extra innings of a game 5 in the first round.
Yep.
You gotta give everything you have, and every little decision matters. And I don't think Dave Roberts handled himself well in any of them.
Well, no, I don't know why.
Despite the great records they put up, when it gets into the minuscule decisions that change everything, he has made the wrong ones more times rather than not.
Well, see, here's my thing. I am not a big analytics guy, but I'm also not so dumb that I don't know how to read a stat sheet. And when you know that Clayton Kershaw has had major issues in the postseason, you don't trot him out there to face their two best hitters. I don't care what your gut says. You've got to go with the hard data in front of you. And I'm not talking about like whatever some of those bullshit pitching stats are, the extended stuff. I'm talking about like this guy struggles to get people out in the postseason. Everybody knows it. You do not run him out there to face their two best fucking hitters. You don't do it. And he did. Because he said it just felt right. Well, I'm sure, okay. That's not how you manage. I mean, I don't care. You didn't manage like that back in 1952, let alone today.
I think that quote
and
is also
Brian Burke was cutting players based off of dreams, so maybe don't go off of the feels.
Right. Look, like I said, I don't want baseball to be a computer simulation, but there are stats that you've still got to look at, and one of them is that Clayton Kershaw against two good right-handed hitters, not a good idea, especially out of the bullpen.
That was definitely the quote from Roberts that kind of sealed it for me, as I would be surprised if he does, manage them at the beginning of next season. Because, like for all the reasons you said, you don't want to rely on the numbers alone. But when all the numbers point in a certain direction and you say, I went with my gut and I backed up my guy, that's great that's great to back up your guy.
In July. Yeah.
You can't do it in October.
Well, to give you an historical perspective on that, that's why Bill Buckner was on the field in Game 6 in the 1986 World Series, because who was the manager then? John McNamara said, I wanted to go with my guys. Well, all season long, he'd been putting in this guy named Dave Stapleton for late inning defense, and he didn't. And we saw what happened. Because I wanted to be good to my guys. I wanted to go with my guys. Well, you know what? You fucked yourself. And Dave Roberts did it too. I don't know. But hey, more power to the Nats, man. I mean, look at them go. They're 2 wins away from the World Series, which is, I can't believe I'm even saying that. But
they have Team of Destiny vibes on them right now.
They kind of do, yeah. I don't know.
Based on how they played in the wild card game and how they pulled out that game against the Dodgers, and now they've thrown no hitters for more than 7 innings in the first 2 games against the friggin' Cardinals, and they went into St. Louis and took the first 2. And now it's like maybe this is when they do it. Maybe they finally get this franchise back to a World Series or to a World Series.
Yeah, it'll be the first time for this particular franchise. Yeah. I mean, they've got whatever it is. They seem to have it right now. Now I don't know how they'll hold up against either the Astros or the Yankees, because my God. Are those two teams loaded? But you never know. You just never know. I'm just glad that the Astros managed to tie that series, because did the Yankees put a beating down on them the first game?
Yeah.
But everybody kind of knew that Greinke's not the greatest in the postseason either. So, but Anibal Sanchez coming out, was it in Game 1? And going like 7 no-hit innings? Like what?
7 2/3.
Yeah, and then. And then, then you go to you got Strasburg after that. And it's like they're set up, man. I just don't see. Look, we all know about the Cardinals and their voodoo magic and all that. But down 2-0 to this team, playing the way they are, and now they've got hardcore home field advantage. Maybe, but I don't know. I don't see it.
I don't want the Cardinals to have any momentum at all, so I'd rather them not win any games. But for the Nationals' sake, I hope that they don't do the Rockies thing, where they have all this momentum and they feel like a team of destiny, and then they sweep the National League Championship Series to wait around while the Astros and Yankees beat the hell out of each other, and then bowl them over in the World Series.
Yeah, I agree. Because I don't know that a well-rested Nationals team is a good idea against either two of these juggernauts in the American League. But we'll see how it goes. But it's been surprising so far. I mean, mostly from the Nationals. And
has it really been surprising? Because we need to talk about the Minnesota Twins.
Well, that wasn't a surprise to anybody. Like Twins. I said, man, they're the Saturday playoff game. I mean, that's what they are.
Like I said in our group text message, Twins, was it all worth it?
101 games, and they've
101 games, most home runs in franchise history.
Most home runs in MLB history.
History.
Did they even score a run? I don't remember.
Of all 4 series, that was the one that I had no idea when the games were, or that they were even played. Like, I knew what was going on in every other series, and I looked up and I'm like, oh, that series is over?
Well, here's a little thing for Major League Baseball to think about, too. You don't get to complain about the ratings being down when nobody knows where the hell the games are. I mean, when I have to go looking, like, oh, wait a minute, now let's see, this series is on which channel again? I mean, come on.
That's only a problem on in the divisional round when they have to shove one of those series to the MLB network.
Yeah, but still, early on, yeah, I know, but now it's easy. Well, kind of easy. One's on Fox and one's on TBS, right?
It's the same problem that leads the NHL to have games on the Golf Network.
Right.
It happens.
Or NHL having games on CNBC.
CNBC, USA, yeah.
It's like right after market talk. It's the NHL. Yeah.
It's Capitals Hurricanes.
Yeah, but we'll see. I think the Nats are though. I think you're right, Zach. They've got that like we've got it going on vibe going, and
I don't mean to revisit this, but I just need to say, like, I have been watching the Twins lose to the Yankees in the playoffs since I was in high school.
Oh,
yeah.
Like, it's the thing. Yeah.
What the heck? Like, come on.
Yeah. Hard to believe that team won the World Series twice within 4 years, isn't it?
Well, it happened before our time.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 87, they beat the Cardinals in 7 games, and in 91, they beat the Braves in 7.
Okay, so I was 1 year old.
I was born in 87. I would have been 0 when they won. If I was alive I would have been alive for the 87 World Series, but I was not even a year old. Then I was, let's see, 89. I was 3 when the 4. Sorry, I was 4 when the Twins won it last. Yeah. Like, okay,
but it's not even one of those things where it's like. I remember we had this talk about the Royals or even about the Red Wings.
Yeah,
it's not like the Twins were never good.
Well, the only time they were consistently good was in the 60s. They weren't good in the 80s or the 90s.
I mean, but in
the late 90s, 2000s.
Yeah, I feel like.
Oh, okay, then, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember, I followed baseball really closely when I was in high school, and I remember, when I was in high school, they were like a consistently good team. It's just that every time they got to the playoffs, they'd run into the Yankees and get swept.
Well, yeah, that was the years of those Yankees dynasties too. Where they won I don't know, 6 or 7 World Series, not 6. I think it was 5? 5 and they won 3 in a row. I know that. Let's see, they won in 96, and then they won 3 in a row, and then another one in 2007 or 9. I don't remember what year it was, but yeah, they really picked a bad time to be good. It was right in the middle of that Yankees thing. But no, in '87 they came out of nowhere. I mean, they beat a Tigers team in what was the only playoff series back then that was way better than they were. And then the Cardinals did their Cardinal shit, just like they always do back then. And I forget who they beat in the NLCS, but no one at the beginning of the season had picked Twins Cardinals in that World Series. And then in '91, they were both worst to first teams, the Braves and the Twins, which I think is the first time that had ever happened and made the World Series. So there you have it.
Yeah, let's see. Since they've been in Minnesota, they have made it to the second round. Well, okay, there didn't used to be a second round, for the longest time. They lost the World Series in 1965 to the Dodgers.
Right.
Lost the ALCS in back-to-back years, 69-70. Won the World Series in 87. Won the World Series in 91. The only time they've won a divisional series was 2002 when they beat the A's in 5 games.
Of course. Who else, right?
And then they lost to the 2002 Angels in the ALCS, who had beaten the Yankees in the round before. So transitively, still losing to the Yankees. But yeah, this is so fascinating. So since that World Series, they beat the A's, lost to the Angels, then lost to the Yankees, lost to the Yankees, lost to the A's, lost to the Yankees, lost to the Yankees, lost to the Yankees, lost to the Yankees.
Wait a minute, the A's won a playoff series? When did that happen?
2006.
Really?
Yeah, 2006.
Well, of course it was the Twins, right? Wow. I did not know that. I thought the A's hadn't won a series since, I don't even know, 89 when they won the World Series?
They actually swept the Twins that season.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
What happened to the ALDS? Then they went on to play, they played the Tigers in the ALCS.
Right, the year the Tigers went.
Yeah.
That was a waste of everyone's time.
Hard to believe the Tigers that were actually good enough to make. Didn't the Tigers make the World Series twice, in the early 2000s?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now they lost like 146 games or whatever it was.
Yeah. Same thing as, the Rangers did that too.
Rangers made 2 World Series. They were one pitch. They were 1 strike away from winning a World Series, and then the Cardinals did their bullshit. And
could you imagine being a Rangers fan when that was going on? I mean, I thought like the Browns with the drive and the fumble were gut punches, but my God, 1 strike away. Well, the Indians were there I think they were an out away in 97. But yeah, wow, that was brutal. I mean, it was like if you didn't have a horse race, it was like a really cool baseball game. But oh my God, I remember Mania from the boards. Argentina Mike from the old Logo Cast was a huge Rangers fan. I didn't even know what to say to him after that. I was like, I'm not even going to talk about it because that was just brutal, just brutal. I mean,
but for once,
that game was like the most the Cardinals ever cardinaled.
Yeah, and you know that the Rangers fans are sitting there going, "Wow, where am I going to get my T-shirt? How much stuff am I going to buy?" And oh my God.
Yeah, no, and then like Quadruple Jesus hits like a home run, and it's like fuck.
I think it was Vintage Dave was the one that did that one. Vintage Dave, yeah.
Right,
yeah. But so far, it's like the Cardinals aren't bringing out the Cardinal yet. They tried to in Game 2. They tried to. But the Nationals somehow found a way to not let it happen. They out-cardinaled the Cardinals.
Yeah. I really like this Nats team. I mean, I wish that I thought they had a chance in the World Series. And anything can happen.
But I will say, I was disgusted after Game 1 because there was a post about just how classy the Cardinals fans were in their Game 1 loss. This was a real thing I saw on CBS Sports because when the no-hitter was broken up in the 8th inning, the guy who did it tipped his cap to Sanchez. Sanchez tipped his cap back to that guy. And when he was being taken out of the game, all the Cardinals fans stood up and cheered the opposing pitcher for such a great performance.
I got news for you. They do that everywhere. They do it in Cleveland. They do it in Detroit.
Short-wearing assholes.
If a guy goes out and pitches a bitch like that, like Anibal Sanchez did, I don't care where he is. They're going to do the same thing. Exactly. Except maybe Philadelphia. But other than that, it's going to happen. Yankee Stadium's going to do the same thing. The Mets, the Blue Jays, Angels. It doesn't matter where you are. Anybody pitches like that, everybody stands up and cheers because you appreciate the effort. So they weren't special. Nothing special about that.
The last little bit of storyline stuff, because you mentioned Philly. Isn't it so wonderful that the Nationals finally win a playoff series
without Bryce Harper?
Without Bryce Harper there.
Yeah, talk about the Ewing theory, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people are saying, "Oh, the Phillies will be good," and maybe they will be, but you got to think right now he's having some degree of second thoughts.
Well, yeah, the Phillies fired Gabe Kapler, the manager, and the Nationals win a playoff series and may damn well make it to the World Series without their big star.
Well, here's my question. Is he really as good as everybody thinks he is? I mean, he doesn't put up near the numbers Mike Trout does.
No.
And they act like the two are interchangeable, and they aren't. They aren't even close. I mean,
I've always thought he was a little overrated, but definitely not.
I mean, he's not a bad player. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'd take him, but I don't know that. You got Rendon and Soto. I think is pretty good. I just don't know that he's that hard to replace. I think Mike Trout, you lose a whole lot. I don't know that you lose that much with Bryce Harper. I think you can take, at worst, a couple guys and reproduce those numbers. Maybe you don't do it with one player, but you can do it with Trout or a guy like that. Not so easy, but with Harper, I mean, we're seeing it happen right now. Nationals are winning, doing just fine without him. Better, actually. So, good for them.
Yeah, I want to find, I know it's not the best way to do it, but WAR is what most people look to for that sort of stuff. So this season, for example, Mike Trout ended up being third in WAR, 8.3.
Behind who?
Behind Alex Bregman of the Astros at 8.4, and Cody Bellinger with a 9.
Okay, those guys are pretty good
that's
too.
the season. I mean, you look at the career WAR, and it's it's not even Mike Trout has more than like Ted Williams at this point. I think it's incredible. But let's see. So let's see if we can find Mr. Harper on this WAR chart. Still scrolling here. We're down into the 40s. We're to 49. Oh, I guess I got to go to the next page. Let's see. Oh, Juan Soto was a 4.7. Let's see. Bryce Harper, here we go. Tied for 59th with 6 other guys at 4.2 wins.
Yeah.
So half of what Trout gives you.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I think that you can get those 4 wins.
At least this year.
Yeah, you can get those 4 wins cheaper. I mean, 4 wins isn't hard to get, really. You can get it cheaper, and I don't know if he's a good teammate or not. I have no idea. He seems like kind of an egomaniac to me, but I don't really know. It just, he comes across that way, and whatever the case may be, the Nationals are clearly succeeding without him, and I think that's all that matters to Nationals fans.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah, we all had a great day yesterday, guys. Woo, what a day.
I just want to say I hate football.
Yeah, so do I.
I mean, it could be better.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say. Well, I'll tell you, I'll start. I think the Browns are exactly what I thought they were going to be. And I'm going to say this, too. Like I told you guys yesterday in the text, Mike talked about Freddie Kitchens being a bad coach. I said, Freddie's a fine coach. He's just stupid. And that's the problem.
To be clear, I didn't actually say Kitchens was a bad – well, I kind of did. Basically what I said was because we didn't do a show last week. So last week the Browns got spanked by the 49ers,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then yesterday, as I was watching the ESPN NFL pregame show, they were going on about the Browns, and someone, I forget who, it might have been Baker Mayfield, but I don't want to say him exactly, but he was saying something along the lines of, like, we're going to use this loss to, look at ourselves in the mirror and find our identity. And that just really struck a chord with me because, like, you're a very talented NFL team, and this is week 6. Like, this whole, like, we need to find our identity thing, that's, like, some college football bullshit.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how are you at week 6 and you don't know what your quote-unquote identity was? And then my response to that was like, I think that might be a coaching problem because it just kind of seems indicative of
right,
like a leadership thing.
Well, and their thing too is like when they beat the Ravens 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, we thought, okay, well, they're clearly the favorite in the division now, and they've disappeared since then. Like find your identity. It's not even finding your identity. It's you're not playing good enough.
Well,
I think that's simple fact.
I'm going to use a baseball analogy here. In AAA, all the good players can do everything the major league players can do. The difference is consistency, and that's the problem with the Browns. They aren't consistent. They've got talent everywhere, but they don't consistently play well, and you can't do that in the National Football League, or you're the Browns, or you're the Ravens too, for that matter, and you just can't do it. Or the Cowboys, you've got to be good all the time. You can't screw around, and they're not consistent. It's exactly what I said it was going to be. It's a first-year head coach, second-year quarterback, and a bunch of talented guys that have never played together. So, I don't know. I mean, everybody's like, oh, this is a Super Bowl team. I'm like, not yet. Maybe next year, but not right now. But still, I expected more than this. I mean, they looked like you can't let Russell Wilson do what he did yesterday. And they did. They were up 20-6 in the first quarter. You're kicking the daylights out of Seattle. Come on, man. Just keep your foot on their throats and keep going. Nope.
In defense of that, though, as much as we all hate Russell Wilson, I think we'd be naive to say that he's not playing extremely well this season.
He is.
Although I will say, we didn't get to talk about it last week. Good God, if he didn't pull out some classic Russell Wilson luck, horseshoe ass bullshit last week against the Rams.
Yeah.
It just frustrated me to all hell. I couldn't believe it.
Though he has God on his side, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm sure because they played on Thursday, he used this Sunday to visit a children's hospital or whatever. But doesn't make it any better.
No, every time he would throw in those little floater passes yesterday, I'm like, oh my God, that's going to be a touchdown for sure. And they were all incomplete, which amazed me. And he just played well yesterday. I mean, he didn't do anything like Russell Wilson lucky. He just did his job. And I was like, you bastard, I hate you even more now because you're not even doing it with luck. You're just doing it because you're good. And that drove me nuts. But, oh boy, look at the Lions right out of the gate, folks. Oh, and he fumbled it. Pick it up, Packer. Anyway, but yeah, I don't know. I think the Browns, after the bye, the schedule it doesn't get any easier because now they've got the machine that's the Patriots. But after that, it lightens up a little bit, so who knows? But they're just wildly inconsistent, and I don't know that getting Odell Beckham Jr. was the best idea. I'm not saying that he's a bad player or a bad character. I just don't know how you use him. I mean, you've got too many other receivers,
Yeah.
And he's not going to settle for taking like 10-yard outs, man. He's going to want to make the big plays, and Baker's just, to Baker Mayfield's credit, he hits a lot of his different receivers, so that's good. But you don't need OBJ to do that, So, but the Browns are what they are, and there's not much more I can say about it. So let's move on. Who wants to take their, who wants to go next?
I guess I could take mine. Jesus, man, the Rams have issues.
Yes,
all over the place, and I don't know what to do. Like, I made a post about it in the NFL thread, but I think my main contention right now is everybody is trying to bash on Goff right now because he's an easy target because he said the sun rose in the wrong direction on TV once. And so everyone's
in all fairness, it makes us question his ability to figure directions out.
However, he also took a team to the Super Bowl last year. That's right. Like, sure, he looked dumb on TV one time. But he took a team to the Super Bowl last year. Yes, he's had a couple games. He threw, 3-4 picks in that Buccaneers game, but he also threw for 517 yards in that game. So, I don't know.
He's not their problem. I think the biggest problem they have,
to me, it's the O-line.
That, and I think that it happens with every innovative coach. I mean, I think the league starts to figure you out a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know. And God's still putting up pretty good numbers. I think I heard on Cousin Sal and Bill today that it was like 900 yards in the last two games. You can't complain about that a whole lot.
No, exactly. The 2 games previous, he threw for 517 yards and 395 yards. So when he comes out and only has like 10 or 12 pass attempts, like halfway through the third quarter, and only ends up throwing for 78 yards, it's kind of a head scratcher. And to me, I was moving my stuff that day, so I didn't get to watch it as intently as I really wanted to. But when I was able to watch, the play calling seemed off. And the thing that really stands out to me with that is the pass attempt numbers. And then ultimately, the Rams ended up going 0 for 9 on third downs and 0 for 4 on fourth down.
Ooh.
So they weren't extending drives. And again, all credit to the 49ers. I think, from my perspective and what we may talk more about here is that from the Rams side of things and how it was a disappointment, but you got to give credit to the 49ers. They had beat nobody in the first 4 weeks, really, but they looked every bit legit against the Rams. So credit to them for that. But I think the Rams are having O-line issues. They can't, everyone knows what the game plan is to get to Goff right now, right? It's bring a bunch of pressure and he doesn't know what to do. So you bring a bunch of pressure and the offensive line is doing nothing against it. And so he's getting 2 or 3 guys in his face every play. And of course he's not going to be the best quarterback in the world.
Nobody
Any quarterback that has 3 guys in his face every time he throws the ball is going to have a problem. Now, if he was standing back there for 15 seconds and not getting it to anybody, okay, that's a different story. But he's getting hounded. And the other problem with that is the offensive line is not making any holes in the run game. They didn't have Todd Gurley yesterday, but even still, he hasn't been as big of a factor in the first 6 games here.
Well, they brought this up.
They can't run the ball. And the biggest thing that they were successful last year was the play action. So if you can't run, you're not setting up the play action, and if you can't block for the passing plays, your quarterback's not going to do anything. So it's amazing that Goff's even been able to put up the numbers he has with what the offensive line's been doing.
Well, and they brought this up on the podcast too, that, you know, I don't think you can overestimate the value of a healthy Todd Gurley to that team, because when he was at the top of his game, that was when they were, you know, unstoppable. And now I don't know what's wrong with him. Whatever it is, it must be pretty bad, because he's just, even when he plays, he's a shadow of what he used to be. And, you know, and then you throw in the bad offensive line, and defenses are going to figure out parts of that offense, and there you are. You know, I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, I don't think the Rams are a bad team. I think the league has kind of caught up with them a little bit. And I talked about the 49ers. I think it was last year when they had that bad year when Garoppolo went down. I said, this is a benefit to them, because they were already pretty good with him, and then they get all these, like, you know, high-round draft picks this year. They're going to be loaded, and they kind of are. And I think they might be a legit good team. They're, what, like 5-0 now?
5-0, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really, you know, they've already beaten the Rams once. They've, you know, I don't know when they play Seattle, but that's their, you know, the Cardinals aren't going to be a problem, I hope or think.
No, see that, but that's the thing is, we remember looking at their schedule. Even if we had put the Rams down as a loss, I think they, even after like 4 weeks, we said that they could go 7-1, 8-1, something like that.
That's what I mean. That's what I was talking about. They've got all those draft picks, and they were already talented, but the injuries cost them last year. They had all those draft picks. They had a last place schedule this year, so they are set up right now. You know, it's really easy for them. I mean, you know, anybody can beat anybody, but they're in a good spot. You know, you take a team like the Browns, who they had a good season last year, and they've got a brutal schedule this year. So, you know, scheduling's a part of it too. But I don't know, man. You know, they're 2 games back now with a loss to the 49ers already, and that's going to be tough for the Rams.
Here's the deal, though. So the Rams the next 2 weeks play at Atlanta and then in London against the Bengals.
God, how many of these fucking London games are we going to have?
I believe there's 4, and then I don't remember if there's 1 or 2 in Mexico this year.
Oh my God, enough already.
But so basically, the Rams have to win the next 2 games, right? Like that's just plain and simple. They have to do that. And I think coming out of the bye, it's not easy, but it's also doable. I'm trying to pull it up here. So the Rams schedule looks like, okay, so they at Atlanta, and then they're in London for the Bengals. Both games that are very winnable, and they should win. Then they, on the way back the bye week, they play at Pittsburgh, and then host the Ravens, host Seattle, at Dallas, at San Francisco, and then host the Cardinals. So there's definitely a few tough ones still in there, but they should right the ship. You know, they should in theory win the next 3, and then you have maybe a questionable one against Chicago. You should beat the Ravens. You need to beat the Cardinals before you end up playing the Seahawks again.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe they lose one in there, Chicago, Baltimore, something like that. But it's still set up for them to do things. They have things they need to fix.
Well, not only that, I mean, they're 3-3 after 6 games. I mean, we've still got 10 to play. Yeah. And I can't, seriously, anybody that's 500 or better right now, you can't really write off at this point. You know, I mean, I think you can pretty much say the Cardinals aren't going anywhere. The Bengals aren't going anywhere. The Browns probably aren't going anywhere. But, you know, everybody else, you know, I don't know. I haven't seen the standings, but I'm not ready to write out the Rams. I don't, you know, but if they get any further behind, the division's going to be tough, but I still think they can make a run of the wild card.
Yeah.
You know, Seattle.
Here's the thing with San Francisco. San Francisco still has, like, they play the Redskins next week, and Carolina and Arizona. Like, those are all games that they should win.
Right.
They should be 8-0 by the time they play Seattle. I believe that's either a Sunday night or a Monday night game in San Francisco.
That's what I mean. I mean, you know, they are benefiting from that last place schedule that they're playing this year too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
they also play Green Bay, Baltimore, New Orleans, Atlanta, and then so they still have to play Seattle twice. They still have to play Green Bay. They still have to play Baltimore. They still have to play the Saints.
Yeah.
So it's pretty decent games that they still have to get through.
Well, you know, speaking of Los Angeles teams, shall we talk about the other one?
You mean the Carson Chargers of Pittsburgh, right?
Right.
That game was at Three Rivers Stadium, correct?
Might as well have been.
This I'm getting fed up.
You lost to the third string quarterback? Yeah. The guy was on the practice squad earlier this year?
Wait, who started for them?
This guy, Devlin Hodges?
Wow.
Mason Randolph or Rudolph or whatever his name was, he got concussed in the last week's game.
Oh, Mike.
So this guy, Mike, would you like to know some of his resume? Devlin Hodges. He comes out of Samford University in the FCS. He actually broke Steve McNair's all-time FCS passing record, so that's a football thing. He was also
football thing.
He was also a junior national duck calling championship.
Oh shit!
What?
And
no. Go back to that last one.
No. We can follow up because in 2018 he was the Alabama State champion in duck calls. So
well. With credentials like that, I'm surprised he was third string, to be honest.
So his nickname is, of course, Duck.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man. Joe Montana can't say that. Brady can't say that.
He was a junior national duck call champion and an Alabama State duck call champion.
Hey, do you get a ring for that, I wonder?
I'm sure you get a big duck call.
Well, like I said, with credentials like that, of course he beat the Chargers. I mean, geez, now it makes sense, Mike. Come on.
What I need is a Steelers-Jaguars game between Devlin Duck Hodges and Gardner Minshew II. Please. Do we have those on the schedule? I need that to exist.
Oh, my God. That would be the greatest thing, huh?
But yeah, the Dignity. Well, by the way, we've been calling it the wrong name the whole time, guys. Oh. It's actually Rocket Field at Dignity Health Sports Park.
The field is only one part of the sports park
of a multifaceted place.
There's the softball. There's the softball fields. There's the clubhouse. It's got the sauna. There's the shuffleboard.
Mm-hmm.
There's the exercise room. So
don't forget mini golf. Don't forget mini golf.
Yeah. The field is just one part of a broader center complex.
Think of it like Star Wars Galaxy's Edge for parks, basically.
Yeah,
something like that.
But man, like. On a national stage, just filled with those terrible towels.
Oh, God.
Really something to behold, especially when you were down 24-0 to the third-string quarterback, who, by the way, again, was a junior national duck call champion.
I don't want to underestimate that ability. I think that I don't know what that brings to the football field, but it has to bring something. I don't know what.
I'm telling you, I'm seriously starting to crack here, because, look, I've been a fan of bad Chargers teams before. It happens, whatever. But this LA bullshit where, not only are they losing, but, they have to play in front of opposing fans,
truly embarrassing.
This is it's legitimately embarrassing. As a fan, this is not what I signed up for. It's like I said, it's like, if you want to be a Los Angeles Clippers fan, you know what you're getting into. You choose that. But this was not in the cards.
Well, that's why there's so many fans that bailed on them, Mike. I see it. There's a Twitter battle between Rams fans and Chargers fans every single Sunday. Mm-hmm. Because I see it, and they all get very snippy with each other because the Chargers fans have no leg to stand on. Even when the Rams are losing, the Chargers still have no leg to stand on. It's just it's amazing that you think that it can't get any lower, but it still continues to sink and sink and sink. And it doesn't help that Phillip Rivers is not playing good, man. Beyond the fact that the off-the-field garbage, the Chargers are just not very good.
Right. If they weren't doing such dumbass stuff, you might be able to put up with it a little bit more. But
last year it was still the same joke in that way, but they were winning in spite of that. It was an inspirational story of a team fighting against the odds, and now it's just look at these guys. It's kind of sad, but funny.
I mean, I saw a clip from Dan Patrick today where he was talking to a reporter from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And the reporter basically said the same thing that we've been saying all along. Moving to the bigger stadium is not going to help with this. It's just going to make it worse. No, because now instead of 27,000 Steeler fans, you're going to get like 40,000. You know, it's going to be nuts. And I don't know. We've said it a million times. This is the dumbest relocation in the history of sports, period. There's none that'll ever be dumber than this that I can think of. But, Mike, you are, a team moving gives you license to go somewhere else. You don't have to stay with them. I mean,
and you've never been in the local market for the Chargers ever. So you of all people, you have outs, Mike.
Yes. I had a tentative, a very tentative connection to San Diego. Basically,
right.
my dad being a Chargers fan because his family would vacation in San Diego every year during the holidays, and so they were the closest thing to a hometown NFL team he had.
Right.
So
the Chargers have renounced San Diego. Clearly.
Oh yeah, no, and see that's
you have your reasons.
No, that's the thing. Like my dad quit on them when they left San Diego. Like, because when they left San Diego, his reasoning was like all the players that I grew up, rooting for are gone, and now they're not even in the city anymore. So what is there left? That was his reasoning, and he completely moved on. He completely dropped them.
I will tell you this: when the Browns moved, and there was still talk they were going to be the Baltimore Browns, I was done. I'm not following the Baltimore Browns. That's not my team.
Well,
but so that's different because, in theory, like it's still all Southern California to people. Cleveland to Baltimore is at least separation enough that you're not going to have to hear about it all the time.
There's like 3 states in between, so
yeah.
This would be like. Could you imagine the Browns moving to Columbus?
I would have stuck with them for that. That would have been no problem for me. I'd be like, hey, they're still in Ohio. That's good enough.
Hey, maybe that's not the same thing. Let's assume the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't exist in this scenario.
And they moved to Pittsburgh? That's a different story.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
It's all the same state, but San Diego and LA are different enough to like. If you're a Padres fan, you hate the Dodgers, right? Like it's you don't root for LA teams.
And I also think too that I don't know how long it actually takes. I know the distance isn't that great, but how long does it actually take to get from San Diego to where they play in LA?
2 hours, 2.5 hours.
See, if that was an easier trip without all the traffic, I think it might not be as big a problem.
See, that's the other thing too. Is like I say, 2.5 hours. Half of that is spent in your car. Just not moving. Yeah, you're sitting in the middle of the road. Yeah, which is I don't know about you guys. That is the most uneasy feeling in the world to me. I don't know why, but it just bugs the shit out of me. Like it really unnerves me. Like when we were in Tampa traffic last February, I was like, I told my girlfriend, I'm like, I don't get this. Why does this bother me? She goes, because you can't go anywhere. She's like, what are you going to do? I said, well, I guess I could get out and run somewhere or something. But yeah, and I see that gridlock that you guys deal with every day, and I go, oh my God, I would lose my mind. Yep. You get acclimated to it, but yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know, something about it just freaks me out. But anyway, yeah, Mike, you're under no obligation to stick around. I mean, I know that it's easier said than done.
Well, no, it is. Like, their first season in L.A., like, I distinctly remember I went into that season, not very invested and very pissed off at the team that they had made that move. But, like, when I was watching, when I would tune into the games and watch them, like, when they fucked up, I still found myself getting angry, right? And so it's like, well, fuck, I guess I still care.
Well, that was that was always me with the Browns. I really tried to, like, do these are not my Browns. But I couldn't help it. It was like I finally had to give in and go, look, okay, I know that this isn't exactly the team I grew up with, but they're tricking me with my eyes here because they look like the Browns. I mean, kind of. They used to really look exactly like them.
You know what'll do it for you, Mike? When Phillip Rivers retires.
Probably, because God damn it, has that guy been fucked over by like
it's one of those things like with the Colts and Andrew Luck. Even though I wasn't watching the Colts every week, I still wanted Andrew Luck to do well. I still rooted for the Colts in that way. But now there's like I look at the Colts team now, it's like there's nobody there that I know or care about. So whatever.
I mean, yeah, no.
You've been through battles with Phillip Rivers.
Oh, I have. It's been, and it's one of those things where I feel really, really bad for him because, like, you go back, and I think it's 2015. you look at the 2015 Chargers. SB Nation actually did a really good video on this on their YouTube channel, where like if you look at the 2015 Chargers, they didn't even make the playoffs that year, but they had like one of the best offenses and one of the best defenses the NFL had ever seen.
Yeah, I watched that video. It was good.
And it's like top rated offense, top rated 1 or 2 defense. Is amazing play on both sides of the ball. How'd they not even make the playoffs? And it's like because special teams they couldn't kick field goals. They were giving up punt returns, and it's one of these things where it's like this stupid team doing what they do has wasted probably one of the better quarterbacks of his generation.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And it's amazing because even if you go back the last couple of years, even the years where the Chargers have not made the playoffs, like Phillip Rivers would still have career years where it's like his personal stats have been amazing. And it's just frustrating to watch. And I guess maybe that's why I tricked myself into believing this year, because last year it worked out pretty well. And it was kind of like, okay, Phil's been playing well as always, and now the team's clicking around him. This is going to be awesome. But now I'm just facing the reality that like Phillip Rivers is probably never going to win a Super Bowl. I mean, that's why the loss of the Patriots last year in the AFC playoffs really took me down, because not only were the Chargers on fire and the Patriots looked a bit dumpy going to the playoffs, but I was very much like, oh, they just bitch slapped the Chargers. So like now Phillip Rivers, this is like, it's just not going to happen. He's probably never going to win a Super Bowl.
Well, I remember going into that playoff game last year that I was pretty convinced the Chargers could win.
Oh, so was I.
They were playing so well, and you're right, the Patriots didn't look great. And
then it was like, it's like 28-0. And I'm just like, what? And I just had to come to that realization, like this, like Phillip Rivers is never going to, and it wasn't just like that thing, because that game convinced me, oh, Phillip Rivers is never going to win a Super Bowl. But then you start thinking back on all of like the years that either he's put up great individual performances, but the team hasn't really clicked, or the years where they had great play on both sides, and they made the playoffs, but like dumb things happened, like the year they went 14-2 and lost to the Patriots in the playoffs because Nate Kading couldn't kick a fucking field goal, and it piles on you, man, and it just
I know.
But no, Zach, I think you're right. Like when Phillip Rivers dies, but that took a dark. Although who knows? Who fucking knows? That's the only thing. That's the only other thing Tom Brady could possibly do to this poor man is like he literally murders him.
Kill him.
Yeah.
On the final play of the game last night.
Yeah.
So they're in the end zone. He chucks up this interception, and then he goes and like grabs the guy who caught the interception. Probably said something to him on the field or whatever. So Phillip Rivers goes up to the guy who intercepted him, grabs him by the collar on the back of the neck, and just starts like yelling into his ear about whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh man, you're broken. Because remember, again, this all goes to the stupidity of the move. Remember the fact that he still lives in San Diego.
Yeah.
And drives to Costa Mesa every day, which again is like an hour and a half drive.
I want to imagine.
Practice, not to mention what he has to do on game days.
Plus, he's got like 10 kids, so
right.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, but yeah, no, Zach, I think you're right. When he retires, I mean, I'll probably because that is one of the Chargers jerseys I have. I've got two. I've got an old LT jersey, and I've got a Phillip Rivers jersey. And when he's gone, what am I going to be left with? I'm going to be left with a team in Los Angeles that nobody cares for, that, every time that they're on TV, it's just humiliating because the other team has a home game. And ultimately, fuck Spanos. That's all that this boils down to. Dean fucking Spanos, who
Well, anyway.
Here, let's move on to some of the other games that had some interesting results. The Jets get their first win of the season, and it's over the Cowboys.
I know. Yeah.
See, this is why the Chargers game really bummed me out too, was because like I was actually watching the Cowboys-Jets game, and the Cowboys losing to the stupid Jets made me so happy, and then the frickin' Chargers had to let me down and, kill that high.
Hey, man, I tell you what, the referees were doing everything they could to get the Cowboys back in that game in the fourth quarter. I mean, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that gets so tiring. It's just like, come on, guys.
Did you see the Cowboys players going back to the bench like late in the game? They just forced a turnover or something, and Jason Garrett goes out on the field to give them all high fives, like, "Hey, come on, guys, good job, we're still in this." None of them gave him a high five.
Yeah,
back.
it's already an animated GIF out there, believe it or not.
I don't doubt it.
Can I just say that screw you, Dallas Cowboys. Oh, look at us. We're good. No, you're not. You're not good.
Well, if you look at who they played and when they went 3-0, I don't think they beat anybody good. And then they played three good teams and two good teams and one
good teams
and the Jets, and they've lost all three. And I think the happiest person in America right now has to be Jerry Jones, because he did not give Dak Prescott that extension, because dude has not earned it at this point.
They played the Giants, Redskins, and Dolphins.
Right.
And followed up with losses to the Saints, Packers, and Jets.
Yeah, and the Jets. I mean, when you lose to the Jets.
But I mean, you start thinking about it, right? And you're like, okay, so the Saints and Packers, okay, yeah, you got beat by better football teams. But, like, how do you not beat the Jets, man?
The Jets, who were winless. Sam Darnold comes off, his mononucleosis.
Yeah.
That's what you give?
I don't know how you explain that one, because the Cowboys are better than the Jets. I mean, they may not be as good as we thought they were, but they're still better than the Jets. But I don't know, though. With Darnold back, they've got some talent on that team.
Sam Darnold's good.
Yeah, and you've got Le'Veon Bell. You got a couple of good receivers. Defense is pretty solid. So who knows?
Sam Darnold he just needs to stop kissing hookers.
Right? And just don't let us. I don't know. I mean, that would worry me. Like, your spleen could explode, and that'd be it. I don't know. That would worry me. I wouldn't go out there, but more power to him if that's what he wants to do. But
Joe Flacco, definitely an elite quarterback in a 16-0 beatdown of the Irrational Confidence Titans, Greg.
Well, actually, my irrational confidence is with the Bills now, but still.
We've switched again. Okay.
I don't remember ever coming back to the Titans. I think I've been with the Bills ever since, but we missed last week. I think the Bills were on a bye last week, weren't they? Or they were on a bye this week?
The Bills were on a bye this week.
This week, yeah. The only thing I had to say about that game was I played Denver's defense on my fantasy team yesterday, and they got me 23 points, so I'm happy. That's all I know about it. Because those are two bad football teams. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. Marcus Mariota finally got benched in this game. Ryan Tannehill came in the second half. Today, the coaches have not said who was the starting quarterback going forward between Mariota and Tannehill. So,
God,
that's
I don't know how. You go back to week one and you look at things and you go, all right, how the hell did that happen? And with the Browns, I don't think it's that big a surprise. But the biggest isn't that they beat the Browns; is that they scored 43 points doing it, because I don't know how they did it. But yeah, that's all I know about that game. I don't think the Broncos. I think the Broncos' defense is going to be solid, but I don't think that.
Yeah,
Flacco sucks. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He's not. He's elite at sucking. If that's what he wants to say, fine. I'm all for that.
He's just entering his prime.
Oh, his prime sucking years, sure. As simple as that.
The Chiefs go down again.
Yeah.
31-24 to Houston. Clearly there's something going on with Mahomes' ankle and all that, but not good results for
I'm laughing at it,
again, they should have lost the Lions game too.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm laughing at it, and if the Chargers have to be embarrassed every week, I can at least laugh at, the Chiefs' misfortunes.
How close does this put the Raiders to being in first place in that division?
I think they're a game behind.
They came out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The Raiders to the John Gruden-led Raiders in 2019.
Who have scored 103 points and given up 123. That's the Raiders.
But technically speaking, the Chargers are also 2 games out. So,
and are the Broncos?
Okay, I have more faith in the Raiders than I do the Chargers at this point. All right, the Chargers aren't doing anything this year. Don't even.
No, I have to agree, Mike. I think that it's going to be you and I are going to have a bad year. We might as well get used to the idea at this point. It might not be a terrible year. I think it's going to be like 2-14 or anything, but it's not going to be anything to write home about. 7-9, between 9-7, 7-9.
Look, all I'm saying, all right, is if Phillip Rivers retires and the Buccaneers go back to the creamsicles, I might just become a Bucs fan.
Well, see, that's your problem, man. Like every team in Florida has got horrible uniforms. So what do you do? I mean, I would love to root for the Dolphins if they looked good, but forget it.
Just keep going outwards. Atlanta,
no.
Carolina, New Orleans.
I'm not going to root for
Tennessee. Looks like the Argonauts, Mike. That's close enough, Mike.
I can't root for the Saints. Not after the temper tantrum they threw. Whatever.
Bounty Gate and everything else.
I get being mad. I get being mad at a bad call, but when you're taking it to the floor of Congress, you've probably gone too far.
A little bit.
But just back to the Chiefs. Clearly they're not like the juggernaut that we all thought that they would be. I think there's only one clearly good team in the. I guess maybe you throw the 49ers in there, but like. It really is just the Patriots League and everybody else is in it.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, literally like across the board. Not even like the NFC anymore. It's like that's it. Absolutely. It's this thing. It's like, like the Chiefs could be good. Oh, I guess they're not. I mean, the
Rams? The Cowboys? No, the Saints? I guess not really.
Well, you know what? Though, speaking of the Saints. When Breeze got hurt, we said if Bridgewater could win 3 games while he was out, well, he's now 4-0.
Yeah.
So he's already done more than he needed to do. They're going to be fine.
Yeah, they're going to be scary when Breeze comes back.
Yeah, because that defense is legit.
The defense is, exactly. The defense is doing its job.
And Teddy Bridgewater, he hasn't been flashy, but he's steadied the ship and won 4 games. In which we said if he could get 2 or 3, that would be great. And he's done 4. So, and I think Breeze is out for 2 more weeks.
Yeah,
something like that. So he's already done his job. I mean, he's going to go 4-2 at worst. Or probably, I don't know what their schedule is, but he can easily win all 6 of those, and then wow. But but the Patriot, I mean, God, just give him the rings and let's be done with it. There it is. Jesus Brady, fucking asshole.
I think it's the lamb.
It's the best picture ever, and I know that. It really is. I can't help but laugh every time I see it, and I've seen it more times than I can count at this point. It just cracks me up every time. But yeah, so the Saints, who'd they play yesterday?
They played the Jags. It was only 13-6.
Yeah, but that's what I mean though. They keep winning.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing, and that's what they needed to do, and that's what they've done.
Exactly.
What else we got up there on the board?
Dolphins almost
Eagles
won.
Vikings was an important one, but I think that's the game I want to talk about. Is the Tank Bowl, Dolphins Redskins.
God,
Redskins Dolphins. Jesus Christ.
That was Washington's first ever win in Miami in franchise history.
Oh, they were in Miami?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the Dolphins. The Dolphins tried to go for it all. They tried to really, man up and do the thing. They went for 2. They scored a touchdown. Seconds left. They go for 2 instead of just kicking the extra point and going to OT. But they get stopped in the backfield. Josh Rosen got pulled in this game. Ryan Fitzmagic came in the second half. So Rosen was named the quote starting quarterback going forward for the Dolphins this week. He was pulled in this game, so I don't know if that's the case anymore.
The Dolphins are hopeless. I'm hoping that they will wipe away the Browns 0-16, like the Browns wiped away the Lions 0-16, sort of. I mean, they both still happened, but it won't be the most recent one, and that'll be nice.
I hope that they go 0-16, and I hope they go back to like the throwbacks, thinking that okay, well now the cruise ship, look, is tainted.
Oh,
I don't think they go 0-16. Here's their schedule, okay? At Buffalo, at Pittsburgh, home Jets, at Colts, home Bills, at Browns, home Eagles, at Jets, at Giants, home Bengals, at Patriots.
There's a couple of those.
That Bengals game could be another tank bowl.
Yeah,
Bengals, Giants.
Have the Bengals won this year?
Games.
No.
I thought they were going to be better than that. I mean, there were people that picked them to win that division.
Well, no, like the Bengals came out, right, and they played really well against the Seahawks in the loss week 1.
Right.
And everyone was like, okay, they lost, but the Bengals might be better than we thought they were, and then they proceeded to lose.
Be bad. be generally bad, as they're wont to do.
This whole league, like I told you guys in the text we were talking earlier in the week, I said the whole world's upside down and I don't know what to do. I don't even know how to address it. You've got the Patriots who we know are good, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, we got the Patriots who we know are good, and we have a couple teams that we know are abjectly bad.
Right.
And then we thought there were a couple teams that had separated themselves, but it's really anybody can beat anybody, really, from the Chiefs and Cowboys and Rams and 49ers and Saints and everybody on down. Like, pretty much it's a lot closer than we all want to admit that it is, I think. Well, everybody's always trying to look for, well, who is the best team? Oh, it's clearly this team this week. Well, maybe it's this team this week. And it's the overreaction culture that the NFL breeds, but I just don't think we can apply that sort of logic to this season anymore.
I honestly think that it's the Patriots and everyone else.
I mean, I'm watching the Lions right now just beat the daylights out of the Packers right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
the Lions look legitimately good.
They do. And you look at that, and then you got Minnesota at 4-2, who I'm sorry, I'm still not sold on. I mean,
how is Minnesota 4-2?
That's the point.
Seem like right.
They're great at home. I don't know what's a home record 3-0, 1-2 on the road, and I think that the one was they beat somebody terrible, and that's what I've been saying about them all along. At home, they're going to be a bastard to beat, but on the road, they're easy. I think who did they beat on the road? I wonder who that was. Where's their schedule?
I can find out.
Hold on, I can tell you here in a second. At the Giants, they won.
Oh, well, that doesn't count.
Right, exactly. That's what I mean. It was somebody terrible. But, they're
and I believe that was pre-Daniel Jones Giants, so that was like Eli Giants, I think.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I don't know that I buy into them, but, they're 4-2, but I think that's the softest 4-2 in the league right now because they're a complete home team. And the Bears, down at the bottom, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, the Bears offense really underperformed.
Well, they don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. I mean, I don't care what, Mitch, I love Titty Trubisky. You can bring him back all you want. He's not the answer.
And one more team that I want to laugh at, mostly because it proves me right for believing in Keith Olbermann. The Falcons.
Yeah.
Lose to the Cardinals by 1 point.
And you know what?
They missed an extra point. That's it. They shanked one extra point, and that was it.
I can't believe that they were okay the year after they lost the Super Bowl, right? I mean, didn't they make the playoffs again?
They did, yes.
But, man, they have just been falling slowly apart ever since. Like, to this point. And Mike's right. They got to be blown up.
The stink is on them. Not only, they got to get rid of the players, and they got get rid of the uniforms. This uniform set is forever going to be associated with the time we blew a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl.
Oh, my God.
it's two things, right? It's the Michael Vick era.
Uh-huh.
It's dead dogs too.
Yeah, you got like a dude like
blowing Super Bowls,
electrocuting dogs and blowing the 25-point lead in the Super Bowl. Ooh, I want to wear that. Yeah. Come on. Look, go back to the throwbacks and you'll be fine. Red helmet and all. I know a lot of people like the black. No, the red's better. And let's just move right along past that. But yeah, they're horrifically bad. They're just horrible.
I feel like I'm the odd man out in Falcons uniform discussions because my preferred Falcons look is the red helmet, red jersey combo they had.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one too. That was probably my favorite too. I love it with the silver pants, with the gray pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great look. Another team that every choice before this most recent one would be fine. I'll even allow for the black things that Glanville brought in. Not the best, but every choice before this one would be absolutely fine with me. Like with the Chargers. Any uniform prior to this one, you're good to go. Browns, same thing, even though there's only been really one uniform before this one. But, yeah, but the Falcons are bad. But big question here is the Carolina Panthers. When Cam Newton gets healthy, do you put him back in?
No.
I don't.
They are
5-0 with Kyle Allen.
4-0.
Well, the stat on NFL.com says 5-0 with Kyle Allen starts since 2018, which includes last year, and they're 0-9 in every other game since.
Yeah, they were talking on one of the shows I was listening to today. Like, yeah, he's got to come back. It's like NFL radio. I'm like, no, I don't care who he is. This dude, if they're 0-9 and this guy's won 5 games and they look good. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, my goodness. Yeah. I mean, he's just lighting it up, but.
I mean, honestly, they're 4-2 this year. They started the season 0-2. They've won 4 straight with Kyle Allen. Obviously, a lot can change between now and the time that Cam Newton has recovered. But assuming they're still winning, I think you got to go with Kyle Allen until the wheels fall off.
Well, I think Cam. I think Cam's beat up. I mean, I agree with him. They let him get hit more than they would let other quarterbacks get hit. Now, I don't know if it's a racial thing. Or just because he's so fucking big, you just think he can't be hurt. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's true. He took a beating that most quarterbacks don't take, and I don't know how long a guy can hold up to that, you know? And I think he was good for a time, but now I think you got to go with this dude until he shows he can't do it anymore. I mean, who was it? The Patriots did it with Brady and Bledsoe. Bledsoe got hurt. Brady came in. There you go. And we saw.
Yeah, but that's because Belichick is cold, and he knows like Belichick is like, if I found someone better, like that's who I'm going with.
And he won 6 Super Bowls, so you can't argue with it. He's the devil, but he's a smart devil, I guess. I don't know. But I don't go back to. I stay with Allen. I mean, that's no knock on Cam, but Cam's got a lot of mileage on him.
You've got to go with the hot hand.
Yep.
And if Kyle Allen is still winning when, he's ready to come back, then
go with him. This is a cutthroat league. It's not like any other sport. There's no loyalty here at all. And when you do have loyalty, it usually ends up screwing you in the end. And I don't know. I was just curious what you guys thought about that. If you thought Cam should get his job back.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm watching the video, which is hilarious, of Jason Garrett getting hung up to dry by his players.
Yeah. Well, the Cam Newton thing, just look at Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alex Smith got a concussion. Kaepernick comes in and leads the team to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
It's like, if the team is playing better with one guy, I don't think it matters what the other guy's status is. The whole point of the NFL is to win games.
Exactly.
And with the way the owners rip up contracts and stuff like that, I think that should be more clear to everybody by now. Like even Aaron Rodgers, for example, if all the times that Aaron Rodgers has been injured over the last couple of years, if they had found a legitimate backup that they won games with, you don't think that they would have tried to get rid of Aaron Rodgers at some point?
Yeah.
I mean, they had Mike Flynn. He won that one game and parlayed it into $50 million
right.
or some shit.
Is he even in the league anymore?
I don't think he is.
That's got
he's got his money.
That's got to be better than whoever that was. It Charlie Whitehurst, we decided, had the most cush gig in all of football.
Yeah.
That's got to be better. Matt Flynn's got to be better because he took $50 million and went home. And that's awesome. It's like, I see ya.
It's like Seattle signed him, and then Russell Wilson beat him out in training camp. He's like, I'm still getting my money, though, right?
Yeah, I still get my money. Okay, yeah. All of it was in signing bonuses, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even Rodgers is starting to show some wear and tear this year. That's the thing, though, with the NFL. You got to get lucky like the Packers did or like the Colts did. Like, you've got to be able to have a guy that can just go from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck or from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and that doesn't happen very often.
The only other big story in the world of sports even is this NBA China thing, which I don't think we're too equipped to tackle overall.
No,
we're not big NBA people, and Mike might know Chinese history and social political structure more than us.
Well, you do not, under any circumstances, recognize Taiwan in front of the Chinese government. You just don't do it ever.
Yeah. Because that's what they've done.
I mean, I could probably say a thing on China, but
can you do it in Mandarin? That's the question.
Well, I would like our podcast to be available in China, so I'm not going to say anything.
Right, exactly. You never know who's listening. China's delicate, and I don't mean delicate like as in like the flower, but like you got to be very careful how you approach things with them. Because they are very. Was it Hong Kong or Taiwan that caused the problem?
It was Hong Kong.
Right.
Because they're having protests. Yeah,
there are currently pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong, and China obviously does not like that.
Well, China, you do you. Just in case you're listening, we're not going to say anything one way or the other. I will say this. I think I'm a little disappointed in the NBA and more so ESPN, I think, for folding the tents as fast as they did. Look, I get it and all that, but this is the United States, and, fuck you. We can say what we want. I get it that it's a business deal and all that, but come on. You know, a couple of NBA players screw up like $1 billion deal on both sides of the aisle. That doesn't seem right to me. You recognize who you want, China. That's up to you. I got no say in the matter.
I get the NBA's position, but I think you've also positioned yourself as this league that is very progressive and does talk things. And I would think this is a spot where a lot of these players who have advocated for speaking out on issues, like one of the things that really rang hollow to me, like, did you see Steve Kerr's reaction when he was asked about it?
No.
Steve Kerr is like Popovich, where whenever he's asked about all these political questions or human rights questions, they always answer them. They're willing to jump into the fray and talk about it openly and give their thought one way or the other. When it came to this China issue, he specifically said, I'm going to refrain on commenting on it until I know more. I just don't really understand I like to comment on things that I know a lot about, but I don't know as much about this. My brother-in-law is a Chinese history professor, and I've already sent a message to him asking him to kind of explain all this to me a little bit better so I can fully comment on it further later. It's like, you're the guy that jumps into this thing head first all the time.
Yeah.
You don't get to just sit back and say, I gotta assess all the facts of the situation now before making a comment on it. Like, for a league that seems so progressive and willing to speak its mind on so many different things, that it's so strangely quiet on something like this is strange and frankly a little disappointing.
A little bit. It is. And like I said, ESPN is everybody is kind of because China's a huge market it's very popular. The NBA is over there.
No, there's concern about how this might affect the salary cap going forward.
Yeah.
Because it's tied to revenue. And if China's not giving you revenue, then...
Yeah, but the two things I know, what little I know about China are these two things. You never recognize Hong Kong or Taiwan as independent of the People's Republic of China. You just don't. Ever. Yep. And if you do that, we could probably do it and get away with it because they don't give a fuck what we think. Yeah. But in an official capacity, like a government... or in this case, a basketball league, you can't do it. You just can't. They will fucking walk right out of the room on you, man. You just don't do it.
One thing that I thought was really interesting, at least in how it's being covered, because you mentioned ESPN, they in a segment on it the other day, they posted a map of China as a graphic, but the map that they used is like the one that China itself uses,
right?
Where it includes Taiwan and Hong Kong and parts of these disputed areas in India, and this what they call the 9-dash line that outlines part of the South China Sea. Like literally, they included a water boundary that China claims on this map, and it's like, of all the things, guys, like you can't just use like the United States government's version of the map.
Or just a simple geography map, or whatever, a cartographer's map. I mean, but yeah, that's what I mean, man. They are very particular about that shit, and I don't know. Mike, you would know more about it than I would, but I don't know. Is Hong Kong considered independent, except by China?
No. What happened? So Hong Kong and Taiwan essentially have two distinct things. For Taiwan, okay. So first, Hong Kong. So Hong Kong was ceded to the British at the end of the Second Opium War.
Well, Opium War sounds like fun.
Basically, the British wanted to sell opium in China. China tried to stop them. They fought a war, and Britain won, and Hong Kong was ceded to the British. The treaty basically, and this is a oversimplification of it, but basically the treaty said it's for 99 years or as good as forever.
Okay.
And so that's why in 1997 the British gave Hong Kong back to China because the 99 years had come up. There was debate about whether or not the British had to honor that, because the deal that they had made was with the Empire of China, the old Chinese monarchy,
right,
which had by then been supplanted by the People's Republic of China, which is the communist dictatorship. But basically, communist China was raising the issue, and nobody wanted to go to war over it, and so the British said, fine, we'll honor the agreement anyway. Now, the situation is that China, at the time at least, had a very controlled communist economy, whereas Hong Kong had a political system that was more democratic under the British governorship, and it had a booming economic scene. So the deal that they had when they handed it over was essentially, and again, this is an oversimplification, but essentially Hong Kong would be returned to the People's Republic of China, and in turn, the People's Republic of China would agree to let Hong Kong have local autonomy.
Okay.
And so, but it's really weird, because even though technically Hong Kong became part of the People's Republic of China, Hong Kong has its own passports.
Yep.
So you've got to
border crossings to get back to China.
And border crossings. So even though even though Hong Kong is technically part of China, you have to show a passport at a border crossing anytime you go between Hong Kong and, China. And this whole protest, which is the whole, anti-government protests that are going on in Hong Kong right now, started because China wanted to make it legal to extradite criminals from Hong Kong to China. Which, you actually think about it, it seems kind of strange, because if Hong Kong is part of China, why couldn't you do that anyway? But that was part of the deal with the British, where it was like, you get Hong Kong back, but you have to respect its local autonomy. And so
essentially then, to really kind of put a really simple explanation on it, mm-hmm. Hong Kong is to China like, say, Puerto Rico is to us, sort of?
Kind of, but even more local autonomy.
Okay.
Even more local autonomy than that. To the point where, again, you got to show passports and extradition. You can't, and the people in Hong Kong, the reason why they're up in arms over this is because they are afraid, and probably rightfully so, that if this extradition bill were to be approved by the local Hong Kong government, then the People's Republic of China would use it to basically stab up not visitors, but
dissidents.
Yes. Local people in Hong Kong who are pro-democracy, but who are currently protected by Hong Kong's semi-autonomy. And so China would use this law to crack down on it. Taiwan is a completely different situation. Taiwan happened at the end of the Civil War in 1949. The communists defeated the nationalists in the Chinese Civil War, and the nationalists fled to Taiwan, which was then part of China. And the nationalists established the anti-communist Republic of China on Taiwan, and the People's Republic of China was on the mainland. And each side claims that they are the rightful government of China.
Right.
That's why Taiwan is actually an informal name. The official name of Taiwan, the country, is the Republic of China, which is in contrast to the People's Republic of China, which is the dictatorship on the mainland.
Yeah. And in any case, you don't go to the People's Republic of China, the main one, and say that China or that Taiwan is an independent state or is Hong Kong. They don't like that. And that's where all the trouble started, basically, right?
Basically, the GM of the Houston Rockets, which is a very popular team in China because of Yao Ming.
Right.
The GM of the Rockets basically made a tweet in support of the pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong.
Oops, bad idea.
And this is right on the eve of the NBA hosting these preseason games all over China and having these community events all over China.
Well, they were
these fan events all over China, and China buying a bunch of NBA jerseys and sneakers and game rights and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, and last I'd heard, they were doing no press avails at all while the teams were over there. Like, just no, we're not doing it.
No, because immediately after this happened, China reacted as you would assume they would, and they started tearing down all the billboards and the advertising and canceling these community events. And I think the games still went on, but to very little fanfare at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so much so, like, the fans still wanted the regular people that still wanted to see like their NBA stars. They would go to the team hotels. Normally, they would, be swarming these hotels with thousands of people looking to see these people, or the players. There were some that would still show up, but when they saw that there were like TV cameras around, they would cover their faces.
Sure.
And like make sure that the Big Brother government did not see that you were. Yeah, man, you get look at an NBA player.
You can get disappeared in a hurry over there. Believe me. Sure. And that's that. But yeah, so that's again probably. Mike probably knows most about it, but it's a little bit out of our wheelhouse. But I think we did a pretty good job of covering it.
It's still important to kind of touch on, just because it's one of these things that everybody for years has fought to get into the Chinese market, whether it's at the NBA, the NHL has tried it, even the NFL has tried to get there because it's a billion people or whatever that could potentially spend money on your entertainment products.
The funniest one is the KHL, the Continental Hockey League,
right,
which is mostly Russian, but they stuck a team in China.
Right.
But the thing about China and why this is particularly concerning, because like China being a dictatorship is nothing new. China's been a communist dictatorship since 1949.
Right.
But so, Mao Zedong, who was the dictator of communist China for many years, kind of screwed the country up. The Great Leap Forward, the Glorious Revolution, both decimated the Chinese economy, led to a lot of people being executed for little to no reason. China got hurt badly during the reign of Mao Zedong. And the Chinese government, which is run by the Communist Party of China, decided in an effort to curb that, to make sure that didn't happen again, that they were going to stay a Communist Party dictatorship, but like essentially they put term limits. Like the president of China gets chosen for one term by the Communist Party, and then someone else comes in. And the idea was this will keep any one person from basically becoming the supreme dictator of all China, until the current guy came in and kind of abolished those safeguards. I know the dude's name, but I am terrible at pronouncing Chinese.
Isn't it like Ping or Ji Cheng, something like that?
I believe.
The main thing I remember about him is based on John Oliver's show.
Yeah.
That he doesn't like being compared to Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, it's actually
kind of looks like Pooh Bear.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Xi Jinping is who he is. He came to power and basically abolished all these safeguards that were supposed to keep one single guy from becoming dictator of China. He's abolished all of those. He's basically supreme dictator of the country now. And anti-communist people in China who they picked up on the idea that he kind of looks like Winnie the Pooh. And so now Winnie the
Pooh is banned in China.
So yeah, now Winnie the Pooh is banned in China and is a symbol of like anti-government protest in China.
Like I said, it doesn't take much over there.
And so, but what's interesting about this is that, you know, China under the Communist Party has never been an open society, but between Mao and Xi Jinping, it wasn't completely closed off.
Right.
They were never big on pro-democracy protests. Of course, Tiananmen Square comes to mind.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got a little taste of that with Tiananmen Square, yeah.
It's Tiananmen Square, but at the same time, it was basically a state that was run by faceless bureaucrats, and that was that. Since Xi Jinping has come to power, not only have you seen an increase in government control over all aspects of daily life, but he's created a cult of personality, and essentially you've got these common hotspots, which have always been there between, Tibet, Taiwan, and Hong Kong.
Right.
But on top of that, you've also got the fact that under his rule, they're basically setting up what amount to concentration camps to basically persecute the Muslim minority that lives in Western China. So basically China went from being this kind of bureaucratic morass to being, a outwardly antagonistic authoritarian dictatorship that was blazonly trampling on human rights, and that's become more and more too light. Like, I remember for the longest time in Canada, actually, the brother of our prime minister, Justin Trudeau, Alexander Trudeau, I believe, was a journalist, and he did a lot of PR work for the People's Republic of China in like the 2010s. Basically being like, yeah, it's a dictatorship, but, it's a benign dictatorship and things are really great over there all around. And I don't know enough to say one way or another how much truth there was to that. But since Xi Jinping has come into power, that mentality is looking particularly naive, and it's obvious that China is a state that has no regard for human rights. It has no regard for the tenets of a civil society and a liberal society or a progressive society. So when you like Zach said, you're the NBA, you've positioned yourself as, this league that champions social issues. And here you have a state that, is literally, whatever else you want to say about Tibet, Taiwan, or Hong Kong, like they are putting a religious minority into concentration camps, essentially. But no, we can't criticize them because the Houston Rockets are popular. And I know that's an oversimplification of it, but
it is. But
it's one of those things that, but everybody has known all this for such a long time that, like, it's just it screams a certain level of ignorance or naivety or, whatever you want to call it, that the NBA now has to deal with this. It's like, no, we just wanted to make money. We don't care that they're communists. They make money like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the unfortunate position that it looks like the NBA has taken.
Yeah, and I think that
and ESPN to their degree too.
I think they've let the money get in the way of what are strong North American values. I think that I would be willing to bet that, Canada probably feels the same way. Like, look, we aren't going to shut our mouths just because you've got a lot of money. And I don't like that. But, Mike, I think you brought up John Oliver, and he's done.
Zach did, yeah.
Or Zach did 3 or 4 really good videos on China. Watch the one about the one-child law.
Yeah, that was really good.
That fucked everything up. Yeah.
Very,
and that
very
messed
good.
everything up really badly over there. And there's another one about.
I think the ratio is like 10 men to every woman in Shanghai. So it's like
in some places it's 35 to 1. In some places, yeah.
Which is actually crazy because China is a really interesting country because you've got these big modern cities, Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong too, even though its situation is nebulous. But you've got like these really big modern cities. But like the thing is like Central and Western China are still very traditional.
Right.
Where you've got like these very traditional communities, and so like and these areas were affected less by stuff like the one-child law. And so like you've got cases where families from Eastern China, they want to find a wife for their son, but there aren't any women around. So they go to these very traditional communities in Central and Western China and just kidnap women.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this is just fucked.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that over there, it isn't. It's I guess I don't know if it's required or not, but it is strongly suggested that you take care of your old people, your parents, when they can't produce anymore. There's no Social Security. It's like it's on you, man. And if you're like one kid and you're the only, come on, that's tough. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there that just John Oliver alone, and there's plenty more where you can watch.
Yeah.
Vice News has probably done some great stuff. And there's a lot out there. We've pretty much shot any chance we have of being a Chinese podcast at this point, but I don't give a fuck. Fuck them. I'm an American. I'm going to say what I want.
And the other thing that happened in the last 2 weeks, South Park had its season premiere, and it's become a big in Hong Kong. There are some electronic stores that are playing this South Park episode on loop because it says "fuck the Chinese government."
Oh, did you see their apology?
Oh no.
So China, I guess feeling all high and mighty after they got the NBA to back down, demanded that South Park apologize.
Oh, that would have been good.
Let me pull it. It's brilliant. I just want to pull up the exact words. Trey Parker, Matt Stone, China. Let's see. I'm trying to find it because it is amazing. Okay, here we go. Why can I not find this?
What is it?
Trey Parker and Matt Stone's fake apology to China.
I
found it. Okay, here it is.
You got it?
Here it is.
Also, South Park has been scrubbed from the Chinese internet.
Yes.
Doesn't exist in China anymore.
So South Park demanded that. So China demanded that the South Park creators apologize for saying "fuck the Chinese government." To which Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park, said, "Like the NBA, we welcome the Chinese censors into our homes and into our hearts. We too love money more than freedom and democracy. She doesn't look like Winnie the Pooh at all. Tune into our 300th episode Wednesday at 10. Long live the great Communist Party of China. May this autumn's sorghum harvest be bountiful. We good, China?"
Good for them.
I just love that she doesn't look like Winnie the Pooh at all.
Perfect. All right, guys. On that note, we're going to call it a night. As always, follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and the YouTubes. And we will see you all next week. Thanks, as always, for tuning in. Thanks for being patient with us last week. And we'll talk to you next week.
Later.